Hello learners, this is Jalpa. Today we are going to learn some more figures of speech. This is the third part. The first one is imagery. Now this figure of speech appeals to at least one of our five senses, our sense of taste, smell, sound, sight or touch. It was dark and dim in the forest. Now when we read this sentence, we clearly understand how the forest looked at that time. We can in fact envision the forest. We can see it in our mind's eye, how the forest looked. So that's why it appeals to our sense of sight. The sound of bat hitting the ball was pleasing to his ear. Now when the ball hit the bat, we can understand that how it might have sounded, and it was also a pleasant sound, at least to somebody's ears. So we can actually listen to the sound when we read this sentence. It appeals to our sense of sound. The fragrance of spring flowers made her joyful. We can clearly understand that the flowers smelled very beautiful. They were pleasantly, the smell was pleasant, and we can understand that they smelled pleasantly. This is how it appeals to our sense of smell. The blind man touched the tree to learn if its skin was smooth or rough. Now, the texture of the tree is very clear when we read this sentence. We can understand how the tree must have felt when the blind man touched it. The burger, aromatic with spices, made his mouth water in anticipation of the first bite. Again, when we read this sentence, we can actually understand the smell of the burger. We can understand that the burger smelled delicious, and we can also understand the taste of the burger. Obviously, it must have tasted really delicious, so it also appeals to our sense of taste. The next is symbolism. Now here we talk about symbols or superstitions. Superstitions means andhvishwas. Let's look at the first example to understand this better. They dressed in black to the funeral of their friend. Now, funeral is Antim Yatra. When people dress in black, or let's talk about the color black. Black is the symbol for death or despair, or at least some sort of bad luck. So when they wore black, it was clear that somebody had died. It's the color of death. You have a sixth sense like an owl. Now, owls are supposed to be wise. We believe that owls are very wise. So when somebody says you have a sixth sense like an owl, it means owl is being used as a symbol for wisdom over here. So what the person is trying to say is, you are as wise as an owl. That means you're really wise. When he saw a bat in dream, he grew white with fear. Now, bats are also considered as bad luck. When you see a bat in your dream, people believe that they bring bad luck. Apparently, bats are considered unlucky. He was disappointed when the mirror broke. This is another sort of superstition. When mirrors break, people believe that something bad's about to happen, or maybe a relationship is going to break. Maybe you are going to have a fight with somebody. So he was disappointed when the mirror broke because he understood that it's going to bring some sort of bad luck for him. Rebels raised a white flag to negotiate. Now, when somebody raises a white flag or they wave a white handkerchief, it means they want peace, they want to talk, they don't want to fight. So when rebels did that, it was clear that they wanted to negotiate, they wanted to talk about whatever was going wrong, and they did not want violence. The next is euphemism. Now, by looking at the lovely picture, you must have understood that it means sugarcoating, to say something diplomatically so that somebody doesn't feel bad. You can also use idioms for that, for example, put off or lay off or pass away. Let's look at the first example to understand this better. He is a special child. Now, by reading this, you don't feel bad, but actually a special child is a child with some sort of disability. Maybe he is mentally retarded or blind or deaf. That's why he is a special child. He is specially abled. You don't call such people disabled. You call them specially abled, so that they don't feel bad, and of course they have their own specialities. My grandfather passed away that night. Now, here, passed away means he died. We don't use the word die, it sounds rude. We say passed away. It's an idiom. We don't say my grandfather died away, died that night. It seems bad. You're becoming a little thin on top. Now, this is a little funny. It means you're becoming bald. You're losing your hair. Your hair is thinning on top. That means from the top of your head, you're becoming a little bald. You're losing your hair from there. But you don't say bald so that the person standing opposite you doesn't feel bad. It had been found necessary to make a readjustment of rations. Now, readjustment of rations means it had been found necessary to give less food or less supplies to everybody so that everybody can survive, they can eat, because probably there was a lack of food, and we can understand this very clearly by reading this. Because there was a shortage of food, everybody got a little less ration than usual. That's why it's called a readjustment of rations. I have to lay you off means I have to throw you out of the company. I have to take away your job. You're sacked. We don't say you have lost your job. We just say it very gently. I have to lay you off. Maybe the company is not earning enough profits. That's why it's downsizing. It's removing some of its employees so that it can earn profits. The next is transferred epithet. It's very interesting because here we talk about transferred adjectives. See, if we look at the first example, he passed a sleepless night, we can understand that the night was not sleepless. He was sleepless. He wasn't getting enough sleep. But here the adjective sleepless is placed before night, not before the person. That's why it's called transferred epithet. We place the adjective somewhere else and not where it should be. She gave him a knowing smile. That means she was the person who was knowledgeable about something. And when she gave him a knowing smile, it's not the smile which was knowing, it was she herself. She understood something and she smiled. The plowman plods a long and weary way. Now, a way cannot be weary, it cannot be tired. The plowman can be tired. Now, here the adjective weary is for the plowman, not for the way. It's transferred epithet. I have had such a wonderful day. Now, the life of this person seems wonderful, not the day itself. Maybe the person's mood was wonderful. Not even maybe, it's very clear, but not the day. Sarah has an unhappy marriage. Now here the person who is unhappy is Sarah. We are not talking about the marriage actually. A marriage cannot be happy or unhappy. It's not a person. This can be felt only by a person or maybe an animal, but not by an inanimate object or a concept. So the adjective unhappy is for Sarah, not for marriage, or not for her marriage, I should say. The next is Synecdoche. Make sure you pronounce this properly. It's a little Synecdoche. It's a part for whole or whole for a part. Seems confusing, but not when you look at the first example. Nice wheels. Now wheels are generally a part of a vehicle. So we are not saying it's a nice vehicle, we are only saying nice wheels. Now wheels are only the part of they are only a part of a vehicle. They are not actually the entire vehicle. But still, when we say nice wheels, it's understood we are talking about a vehicle, generally a car. Hurry up, greybeard. Now grey beard means obviously we are talking about a person who has a grey beard, but we are only talking about his beard. We are addressing him by calling him grey beard. That means we are talking only about the beard right now. So this is what it means. Hurry up, grey beard means we are not waking up a person's beard, we are waking up a person who has a grey beard. This is flesh I'm talking about here, flesh that needs to be loved. Now here flesh means an entire, a person, an entire human being. We are not just talking about the flesh. That means not about a single part of a person's body. We are talking about the entire human being. The college offered a scholarship. Now, the college offered her a scholarship means it's not the entire college. The building has not offered her a scholarship. We mean that the management did that, or maybe the principal did that. India won the match. Now, it doesn't mean that the entire country was playing and the entire country won. We are talking about the Indian team. So, the Indian team is just a part of India. Yes, yet we say India won the match. It's clearly understood that Team India won the match. So, here we have understood that Synecdoche is a part for whole. Maybe we are just taking a part of a person or a thing, like nice wheels. We have only taken a single part of a vehicle, and India won the match. It's like whole for a part. The entire India has been considered over here. We have written India over here for the Indian team. Now it's time for quiz. You'll get exactly 30 seconds. Just look at the sentences or verses, and whichever figure of speech comes to your mind first, it's your answer. And don't get disappointed if all your answers are not correct. Just try your best. The figures of speech are going to be the same which we have discussed in this video. Your time starts now. Time up. Let's discuss the answers. Brazil took home the gold medal. It's Synecdoche. We are talking about the Brazilian team or the Brazilian player, not the entire country. The waves went wild. Synecdoche. We are talking about the entire ocean, not just the waves. I took a grave sip of coffee. Now, I was feeling serious. It was not the sip of coffee which was serious. I was grave, not the sip of coffee. So it's transferred epithet. The fragrance of spring flowers made her joyful. Now, this we have already discussed. I've placed it here on purpose so that you can refresh your memory. And imagery, because it's appealing to our sense of smell. He breathed a relieved sigh. It's transferred epithet because here he was relieved, not a sigh. She's feeling under the weather, that means sick. And here it's euphemism because we are not just saying sick, we are saying it a little diplomatically. We are saying she's feeling under the weather, that means she's feeling sick. Again, this is to refresh your memory. Rebels raised a white flag to negotiate. It's symbolism. Feeding people on the streets is a noble deed. It's euphemism because when we feed people, we are actually giving them alms. And we are saying people on the streets. We are not saying beggars. So it's euphemism. We are using a very gentle language over here. The fresh and juicy orange is very cold and sweet. Obvious imagery because it appeals to our sense of taste and even smell, if you can understand the smell of the orange by reading this sentence. Now, this is for your practice. Choose the correct figure of speech from the box for the following sentences or verses. And best of luck. Don't worry if you couldn't get all of them right.